Sports stories from the 419 in Northwest Ohio, brought to you by a voice you know. It's time to go around the area and around the Hearn.
Good evening to you and a happy October. We are just 4 weeks away from my favorite holiday in Halloween, and I will just be singing This Is Halloween over and over. But the ghouls and goblins will have to wait as we kick off the month. We're getting ready for tournament season in the fall. Believe it or not, we're just a couple of days away. On Sunday, the volleyball teams and the soccer teams will find out what their run towards the state finals look like. Cross country continues to run and zoom their way towards their finals at the Fortress as well. And a lot of big things going on. We're going to talk high school football in just a few with head coach Spencer Wells from Fort Loramie ahead of their gigantic matchup at Columbus Grove. And a terrific Grove team led by Andy Schaefer, ranked number 2 in the state of Ohio. Clymer Stadium is not an easy place to win. Something like 120-30 all time are the Columbus Grove Bulldogs, so we'll talk a lot about that and a lot about everything else that is going on in the world of sports as we start with the high school realm. Big matchup here on K94 on a Friday night, fresh off of a big win against Van Wert in the driving rain, in which they put up 43 straight points. And you'll hear from head coach Bo Fry on Friday night. How did they do it? 4-2 St. Mary's takes their traveling road trip for the last 5 weeks to Shawnee, trying to spoil what I believe is homecoming out there on the turf. And head coach Shane Wireman's crew got beat 28-0 by Wapak last week. Good news for St. Mary's fans, though. Surrendered over 200 yards rushing. So 4-2 Rough Riders, just a crazy game if you were not with us last Friday night. Shame on you in the driving down rain. It was a 14-6 game. Van Wert gave up a touchdown. It came back, gave up another touchdown just before the half with a 2-point conversion for St. Mary's. And then it was all Rough Riders in the second half. A couple of big hits from Caleb Turner and a couple of runs from Osborne, Mabry, Schmidt. And then the special teams turned in a touchdown as well, with Taylor Compton getting in on the act, getting his first career touchdown. It was just downhill sledding for the Rough Riders. They ruined the whole debut of Egger Stadium. Big game for them, though, this week. Other games, 1-5 Van Wert travels to Titan Stadium at his homecoming in Ottawa, where the 3-3 Titans look like a much different team than they were after the first couple of weeks where they kind of struggled through. Ken Schreiner got his 200th career win, and it has been all Titans pretty much the last couple of weeks outside of their 21-16 loss in St. Mary's. 4-2 Bath did not go well for them last week. Got blanked by Ottawa Glandorf. Will travel to Salina. Bulldogs are 4-2, and maybe not enough people talking about how good their defense has been playing the last couple of weeks. I mean, really just putting it on some folks. And last week they were in a shootout and had just a game you kind of have to hold on to games, I think, at times. And that's what happens. They don't ask you how you want them as long as you get the win, right? Elida is 2-4. Maybe surprising to some folks over there in the Lima Land area. At Defiance. Defiance has got Anthony Wilder Jr., and he's really good. Should be a first-team back in the WBL. Defiance is 4-2. Then you've got the big dogs on the block in the Wapakoneta Redskins at 6-0 off of a 28-0 win. They go to Kenton. It's a battle, a record-wise struggling Kenton Wildcats team. They're 1-5. But as the adage goes, I think they're better than what their record shows. They've been in a lot of games. Just can't close them. And that a Kenton Wildcat team we'll see in St. Mary's for the final regular season home game. Next week for the Rough Riders, some kind of special that I've got on tap for one at St. Mary's alumnus. Lima Senior up north, taking on Toledo Rogers. Senior got votes in the Division II poll this week. And speaking of polls, you can't talk about the Midwest Athletic Conference without talking about the state football polls. Wapak holding in right there in the top 10 in Division III at number 6 for Sales, who dropped after being drubbed a week ago, down to 13 in Division 5. Coldwater remains number 1. They had a 48-0 win over Parkway. In Division 6, Anna at number 12, getting a lot of love. Marion Local, yeah, they're pretty good. Still looking to march towards the all-time record, seen by St. John's. They're ranked number 1. Minster is ranked number 4. Bremen, number 8. St. Henry, number 19. What does the Midwest Athletic Conference look like? Well, there are some banger of games. Anna and Versailles. Anna at 4-2. 2-2 in the league. Versailles at 5-1 and 3-1 after losing 48-0 at whole field last week. But I think this might be the matchup of the week, honestly, in the area, because Anna is a fascinating 4-2. Even if they were to get to 4-3, I just talked about the state polls and how they're getting love. A couple of close losses against some really good teams. Versailles got blown out by number 1. They're still 5-1. They're still very good. I think that's going to be the game of the week in the MAC and maybe in the area. 6-0 Coldwater travels to Delphos St. John's a week after homecoming for the Cavaliers, successful in that 48-0 win. St. John's 2-4 overall, 1-3. Just have not been able to find that spark as they themselves succumb to Anna 34-0 on a Saturday afternoon in that split they have there at Champions Field in Delphos. Fort Recovery's 1-5. They are the next potential stop in the road for Marion Local. Flyers at 6-0 and just absolutely destroying folks right now. Minster at 5-1. They're 3-1 in the league. Taking on, again, this is similar to the Versailles-Anna matchup where both are maybe the games in the area. Bremen at 4-2, but they're 2-2 in the league. Minster state ranked. They've got an offense that can get things done and get some stops. And then Parkway at 1-5 off of a 48-0 loss to Coldwater last week gets 2-4 St. Henry, who are 1-3. St. Henry had pretty much the game of the week last week in the Midwest Athletic Conference. They just fell with 18 seconds remaining, gave up a touchdown to Minster that made it 12-7. But other than that, it was a 7-6 game for a long time. NWC, Allen East, and Spencerville. It is homecoming night in the Ville. Bluffton and Crestview. Bluffton hanging on to one of the 2 top spots of the Northwest Conference. Crestview's just not great this year. Everything goes in cycles. Columbus Grove and Fort Loramie. Another good game. You'll hear from Spencer Wells coming up here in just a few, as we'll talk a lot about Andy Schaefer's crew. I've talked to both coaches for this matchup, and they are both really looking forward to it as kind of a litmus test to see where their team really is. Grove, though, if you can't make it to Clymer Stadium, the game is online, and they are in a precarious situation. They've gone through 6 different guys who have thrown a football this year, including Trenton Barraza, who had over 300 yards a week ago. That was an Allen East defense that he straight up shredded. Delphos Jefferson and Lima Central Catholic. Thunderbirds have been state ranked throughout the course of the year. They've had some injuries and it maybe lost a big piece in Aquatman a week ago. BVC, Ada. All they needed was a change of scenery. And they are a dominant one-loss team. Ada and Riverdale, Arcadia Van Buren in the Blanchard Valley Conference, Arlington Elmwood, Liberty Benton Pandora Gaboa also should be a good one up in Liberty Township. But Lipsick and a struggling Macomb team that is still trying to figure out where they are right now. Lipsick, one of the darlings in the BVC, formerly the Northwest Conference and formerly the BVC. State volleyball polls, D6 and D7 in the area have well represented our state polls for the last handful of years. And there's no difference here. Number 1, Coldwater. In Division 6 have dropped, I believe, just one set still this year. They were 17-0 through their first 17, 6-0 in the MAC. New Bremen is number 2. They came in at 14-2 and 5-1. St. Henry right behind them, 13-3 overall, one loss in the league. Marion Local at number 4. These are all state rankings, by the way. 1, 2, 3, and 4 in Division 6 belong to the Midwest Athletic Conference. Parkway at 13-5 got votes, and they are number 10. Fort Recovery at 8-7 overall. They are number 15 in the state poll. Goes to show you the respect the MAC has. And then Anna, which is not playing the MAC in volleyball, but they are ranked number 17 in Division 6. D7 has got Fort Loramie, who has just been on a spree in the course of the year and have had a couple of state matchups already. They're number 1. Jackson Center, number 10. Russia, number 15. At St. John's, 7-9 on the year, but number 18 in Division 7. And then New Knoxville, who's 6-9. Also received a ton of votes just outside of the top 10. WBL volleyball last night, Salina fell to 7-13 overall, but just 5-2. It's a terrific mark in the Western Buckeye League. Top-seeded Ottawa Glandorf took them out 3-0. Kenton got by St. Mary's in 5 at 3-2. Rough Riders now 4-14 on the year, 1-6 in overall play in the league. Boys soccer, the Western Buckeye League, Shawnee continues to be the leaders just in front of Salina and St. Mary's. Those two teams combining for 17 wins all the season. Salina beat Bath last night 3-1 after tying Ottawa Glandorf on Monday. St. Mary's blasted Kenton 7-1. Girls soccer last night, Salina dropped into second place. They did beat Defiance, though, 3-1 after the Bulldogs fell to Ottawa Glandorf on a Thursday night. Titans wrapped up the Western Buckeye League for the 7th time, tying Salina's all-time mark a night ago as they beat Shawnee. And St. Mary's fell 3-1 to Elida. So that is a look at things going on around the area. We've got a look at Fort Loramie football and head coach Spencer Wells when we return here on Sports Corner on K94. At Lee Kitzel Sales and Service, 650 West Irvin Road in Van Wert, we guarantee our best price for every new Chevrolet and GMC every day, always. At Lee Kitzel's, we also guarantee you'll come back happy with our service after the sale and earn top dollar for your trade-in, no matter what condition it's in. Not sure what's right for your next vehicle? Stop on out at 650 West Irvin Road and let our trained and helpful sales professionals put you in the right vehicle today, or browse online at leekitzel.com. Taking a look now at Fort Loramie football after a season high in points and a 42-21 win over Spencerville. Head coach Spencer Wells is actually on his way through Spencerville right now as we record this. I hope that you are able to just sort of slink through town and not hit the red light.
Yeah, hopefully we could get lucky there. Yeah, for sure.
You got stopped for that 24 seconds at that light. It will be the longest 24 seconds of your life.
That's right. Yeah, we can't. We got to be back in Delphus by the time the Browns game starts, so we can't afford that.
See, now you're just striking out on all kinds of levels. A Delphus guy going through Spencerville, watching the Browns. I mean,
oh yeah,
you're pretty much
Notre
checking
Dame
all the boxes.
Might as well just keep going. Yeah.
Well, I'm a Florida State fan, as we've established on this show, so that doesn't really. We don't even talk about that anymore.
Oh man, yeah. Did they end up losing last night? I saw they were down to SMU. I didn't see the final, but
I don't want to talk about it. I think it was like 42-7 or something. I actually have more respect for SMU. Their quarterback was a great interview. Their head coach seems like a cool dude. He hates Florida State from way back, though, because he coached at Miami. So, I mean, at least he's got that rivalry in there in the traditional ACC market in Texas. You know how that goes. You guys have your own conference realignment.
Yeah. I tell you, it's been a lot of fun so far.
Well, and it's such an odd thing because for the last handful of years, when all of these things have sort of started to come up off the board, it has been one thing that people have said, where does Loramie land? And I always said, I kind of feel like they'd be a fit for the NWC with your proximity, with not being that far from Spencerville and from Delphus and a lot of the teams. Yep. I mean, kind of how does that come about for you guys?
Yeah, so it's been it was quite the journey of we've been through. I think this is our 4th conference now since we started football 20 years ago. This is our 20th season of football, and just thrilled to be a part of the NWC. I've obviously been from Delphus. I know all these programs really well. Played against a lot of them, especially in basketball. But it's a really good conference to be a part of. A lot of really good coaches. Every week, everybody. I said this to Coach Canning when we were talking in the pregame. Everybody that I've watched on film has shown the capability of doing some really good things. It's just, who can do it the most consistently. And, you see that a lot with the teams at the top right now with Bluffton and Grove, especially now that we're playing Grove this week and watching the film. They do not beat themselves. They are extremely consistent. and how they execute, and we're gonna have to be to give ourselves a chance to win.
Is that a special thing to you? I mean, obviously with that matchup with Adelpha's squad, or, I mean, are you able to kind of pull that apart a little bit of, all right, this is the first of many times. It's just about the kids and about the game.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. You know, anytime you get in that moment, there's nothing like it. I mean, that's just the competitive atmosphere of a game night. Once you get there, you're ready to rock and, hopefully put your best football out there. But it's really fun playing a lot of schools with great tradition. You know, everybody in the NWC football-wise has good tradition. You know, at one point or the other, they've done some really good things. And, I think back to my first year, we played a Crestview bunch in the regional final game that was just loaded, and that was such a fun game. So being able to play these teams again, and a lot of great coaches, like I said, it's been a lot of fun so far.
It is clear to me that you have read the Coaching Cliches Handbook. When they ask nice things about the opponent, find the nice way around it.
Well, it's easy to say that when there is a lot of nice things you can say. I mean, it's Spencerville had a lot of really good bright spots on their team. 75, I think, is the best lineman we've gone against so far this year. And and Coach Kenny does a great job. So it was good to get the win against them. That's for sure. Get off to a good start.
Well, and we joke about it, but I really do love kind of the influence of having a Devils guy at Fort Loramie, having a Marion local guy at Spencerville, getting so many different guys that are in so many different places, because there are a finite number of jobs overall, but it brings a little bit of that, whatever X flavor to a different place and kind of shows, hey, we can do some different things here.
Yeah, and it reminds you, it's a small world. Me and Coach Harding he was a Van Wert guy, Crestview's coach, and we played against each other growing up in basketball quite a few times. And Kyle Caney, when I was at Marion Local for a year, he was a little ball boy at the time. And, obviously got to know his dad, Dan, coaching there. And, it's a small world. You get to know a lot of different people that you can relate to, that you said have a lot of great backgrounds and traditions. And that is a neat part of it as well.
Was that a part that Kyle reminded you of when he was looking at you and said, you're a lot older than the first time I met you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He was, I think he had fun aging me a little bit. So, it was, it's crazy how fast time goes. I mean, the fact that he's a head coach now, and the fact his dad's not coaching anymore, that's kind of wild to me that Dan gave it up. But, time definitely flies, no doubt about it.
Talking Fort Loramie football with the head coach in Spencerville. As you said the other night to the Daily News in Sydney, I feel like we finally got out of our own way a little bit. We've had some problems. First couple of games, I mean, the way your season goes, you lose to Minster, they're very good. You lose to Versailles, they're very good as well. You guys come back, win 2 in a row with Covington, your first NWC game with Crestview. Kind of struggle a little bit in times with LCC, but 42 points. Is there a thing in the last 4 games that you specifically had where you guys got in your own way that you were able to fix?
Yeah, I think really for us, the focus at the beginning of games, for whatever reason, just hasn't been to the standard that we need it to be. And we changed some things with our pregame. We changed some things with our approach this week, because really we've only had one great start prior to this week with Spencerville. We got up 14-0 against Crestview, but the other 4 games have been kind of tough sledding for us. So it was really good to, one thing as a coach, a common coach phrase is you get what you emphasize. And I'm not sure that's always true. Otherwise, we'd all be undefeated. But that's something that we tried to emphasize this week. Let's get off to a great start. Let's not beat ourselves at the beginning of games. Too often, you look at that Versailles game, we had 4 turnovers in the first half. And I think we were averaging like 8 yards a run and doing some good things otherwise, but we just could not get out of our own way. And when you play really good teams and you're helping out the cause for them and you're beating yourself too, that's just not a good recipe. So hopefully we've learned from that. We got 2 outstanding football teams these next 2 weeks with Grove and Bluffton. And if we waste any time beating ourselves, it's not going to be a good thing, because they don't need any help from us. They're plenty good enough anyway.
Are you already having nightmares on how you stop Trenton Barraza?
Tell you, he's fun to watch. Yeah, he's
Until this week, anyways.
Until this week, I know. Yeah, hopefully we can get a game plan here too, because you're never going to shut him down. But hopefully, the number one stat that predicts the winner of a game is who wins the most explosives, who has the most explosive plays. It's and then the second closest is turnovers. And so when you play a guy like Braza that can create a lot of explosive plays, obviously that's something that we got to contain, because you give up too many of those and it'll be over in a hurry. So, they got a really good line. They're going through some quarterbacks. I think they're on their third quarterback now with different injuries, but he makes up for a lot of such an explosive. He's patient, but God, he is explosive once he sees the hole. And so gonna have to tackle well, gonna have to pursue well, all those little things. Otherwise they can score in a hurry.
That kid has 500 yards in the last two games, and he only played half of the first game because he had 300 yards rushing the other night.
Yes. Yeah. And it's just, I mean, it's, he's got such a unique way of getting those yards too. It's kind of like I watched, Cam Elwer at Delva St. John's. I watched him play last year when they were at Coldwater, and he had a buzzer beater to win that game. But I think he scored like 45 points, but he kind of does it in a way that you don't realize he's got 45 points. And that's kind of how this guy is for Grove. He's really smooth. At times it doesn't really feel like he's got that many yards, but then you look down and like, my God, he's averaging 8 yards a carry. He's, you know what I mean? Like he's got a sneaky way about it to where he gains 6 yards and it looks effortless. And it looks like a 1 yard gain, but like he got 6 or 7 again, if that makes sense. So we got to get to the football. We got to tackle well and hopefully prevent him from getting a lot of explosives.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to have Eric Goodwin and Nick Fisher on line one of why did he have to bring that Cam Elwer shot up?
Gosh, he's something else. Yeah, that's the only time I've seen him play. And we picked my wife's from Coldwater, so we went over there for that game. They played at Coldwater, as you know.
She's going to be even unhappy.
I know. Oh, yeah. There you go.
You got all the kids and the wife in the car. You just violated rule number 1 of marriage, I think.
That's right. Well, I had to remind her, though, that my senior year, I actually hit a game winner against Coldwater that was a little further away than Cam. So I thought, not to brag a little bit, but I do got that one on her as well.
Right.
To brag, since she's in the car, we'll brag about how we got Coldwater my senior year. But anyway.
I just have to ask you, is the couch at your house nice and comfortable?
Yeah, I might find out here, huh? Yep.
Of course, with the kids, you might not get to use it anyways.
No doubt. Yep.
But big matchup with Grove, and also having to go to Clymer Stadium. There's something like 136-20 or something there. It's not an easy place to win. But with looking at playing on a grass surface, you guys play on your own grass surface. The weather Friday night was pretty abysmal. This Friday, it's not supposed to be great. Do you kind of change your game plan? Because you guys are pretty balanced as opposed to a lot of teams of, okay, maybe we put a couple more runs in this week and a couple less passes.
Yeah, I think you definitely have to have that in the bag, for this week, especially when the forecast got pretty clear it was going to be nasty. We put in a wildcat package. We added some wrinkles in the run game just in case it was going to be one of those nights. We needed a little extra on the menu, I think, in the run game. And fortunately for us, the rain kind of died off. It wasn't as bad as I think maybe a lot of other places. But at the beginning of the game, for sure, it was pretty treacherous. But our field has held up very, very well. We got new sod in last year, and they put a new irrigation and drainage system, the whole deal. So our field now really kind of handles those conditions pretty well. So overall, the turf really wasn't that bad as you kind of thought it might be.
Talking Fort Loramie football with head coach Spencer Wells. You said earlier on that one of the big metrics of how you win a game is about big plays, either not giving them up or getting them yourself. You guys get a 1-yard touchdown run from Ray Hoying to start off early in that game, but then your next two plays are as explosive as you can get for scores. Gabe Hart and Max Maurer hook up 83 yards. You get another before on a 52-yard run from Hoying. You're up 21-0 just before the half. Do you look at that and go, all right, this is a good start, but we know that they have a chance to come back in the second half. How do we slow them down?
Yeah, I think it really it's a fun thing. A fun thing the last couple weeks has been how much our defense has been playing better. At the start of the year, we were trying a 3-3 stack that we haven't done. And we went back to a nickel package that we've had more experience with. And our defensive coaches, our defense coordinator, Brad Frilling, starting with him, they do an excellent job. So it's kind of been fun the last couple weeks where, you know what, we don't really maybe have to press as much offensively as maybe we felt in the past. Like, we trust our defense. We trust our defense is going to get stops. And being able to play some complementary football in those situations is very, very nice. And that's something that hopefully our defense can continue to improve. And hopefully offensively, to your point, we can find a way to make those explosives. Because if you're going to, as the season goes on, and we're, especially you look in our region, if you got to play a Minster, if you got to play a Marion local, if you got to play some of these teams that are really, really good, St. Henry, and you're probably not going to have a lot of 10-play drives. Grove this week, we're probably not going to win the game with a bunch of 10-play drives, right? You got to find a way to get them. You got to find a way to get some quick scores, explosive plays, and that'll be another point of emphasis for us.
You said, we have to figure out how to play with a running clock, and you had that at the half, and you said we don't have a lot of those at the half, but teams in front of you in your region of doom, as I like to refer to it, Region 28, are just as explosive as you can get. I mean, Marion Minster, and I've seen Lehman Catholic in person. They've got an offense that can just flat out fly. You don't look ahead, but I mean, you have got a schedule, especially now with a lot of the NWC teams you play, that'll get you ready for the Region of Doom. How do you keep the kids focused on, all right, we're not looking at, let's say, a potential with Ridgemont in the first round. We're looking at, we're going to Clymer. We need to get a win here.
Yeah, I think, it's really been that way for us from the scrimmages. We scrimmaged St. Mary's. We scrimmaged Marion Local. We scrimmaged Kenton. And then we start off with Minster Versailles. And some of the teams that we played early on here, it kind of forces you into that mindset every week. You have to develop that habit of, hey, this is not going to be easy. There's going to be adversity. Just don't be surprised by it. Grove's going to do some really good things. But let's just make sure that we don't let one bad drive turn into two, turn into three. And I think at times that's been the difference for us. When we've swung back and responded to adversity a little bit sooner, then we've been right there and we've won some of these games where when we've let it kind of snowball, one bad series becomes two, becomes three. And then against these really good teams, you're down 21-0. Or against LCC, I mean, we won the last three quarters, but we got down 14-0 in the first. And so that was another lesson learned that we talked about and tried to emphasize, that against teams like this, you can't have 12 minutes where you're not on your game. You might be able to get away. They're going to do some good things. You can have a bad minute or two or a bad series, but you gotta bounce back and find a way to get the momentum on your side again, because like I said, it can snowball in a hurry.
I would be remiss if I did not ask you about the Browns. As we speak, they're getting ready in about 2 hours out at the Big Roomba in the desert in Vegas. That's what it looks like to me. Browns are 1-2. You got the Raiders. People will hear this after the fact, but you look at this game, especially with the Raiders losing at home to the lowly Panthers, of all people, and Andy Dalton. How do you feel about your Brownies going into this game in the desert?
I am a very, very casual Browns fan. I'll say that, but I do enjoy watching them every week. And it's almost, how do I say this as a cat? I almost get as much humor out of them losing, finding a way to be bad every week, as I do when they win. Because it's almost comical with being a Browns fan for as long as I've been. You almost expect the worst. And even going to Vegas, where, like you said, they're not world beaters, and hopefully we can get one, but who knows? I mean, with the offensive line situation, that was something last week. It was, looking for anybody that could go in and hold up, and what they've done at the quarterback spot is frustrating, to say the least. So we'll see what they can do today. Who knows? You know what I mean? It's the Brownies, so
it's
probably get ready for some disappointment.
It's kind of also fascinating, though, because the Browns, if the Raiders decide that they want to ship Devontae Adams somewhere, are apparently players for that. So it might be kind of one of those things where it's, all right, maybe maybe we'll just kind of see how he does. Now, in typical Browns fashion, he'll probably have 200 yards.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. Yeah, exactly. That's the story. Like, you could see it happening already. Yeah, that's the stuff that happens to the Browns every week, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Cowboys fan, so I'm not really going to talk about anything here.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. So
Yeah, it's
I'm a big Notre Dame fan. I'm a pretty casual NFL fan, but and we don't need to talk about Notre Dame. We don't need to talk about Northern Illinois.
At least you won.
That's right. We got one this week. That was a big one against Louisville.
SMU.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Florida State. Yep.
Anyways, we're not doing that. Big game this weekend with Columbus Grove. I wish you guys all the best. I know you have a tremendous task ahead of you, and I thank you so much on your way through 66 of spending some time with me.
Absolutely. Always fun talking, Mike, and have a great week.
That's Fort Loramie head coach Spencer Wells. Some more here in just a couple of minutes. Are you in Spencerville and looking for a place to eat before the Bearcats play? Well then, head to my place, 128 North Broadway, for deep-fried mushrooms, chili cheese fries, the best pie around, and soup of the day. If you're in a hurry and just want to order some to go, you can give Doug and his staff a call at 419-647-4062, and they'll have it ready for you. My Place Restaurant at 128 North Broadway in Spencerville, a proud supporter of Bearcat Athletics.
Hello, this is Avery and my daddy. Okay, love you, bye.
It occurred to me last week as I was sitting in Indianapolis watching women's professional basketball and seeing the boom of that it would be really neat to get someone who has played in that league in the WNBA, and I had to go no further than down the road to Wapak and the head basketball coach in Marcie Alberts. And how awesome is it to be a fan of not only women's sports, but specifically women's basketball right now?
Well, first, just let me say thank you for letting me be on. I definitely love every opportunity to try and promote the girls' game and get that out there. So to answer that question, I think this is the best time in my lifetime that I've seen it for women's sports, women's basketball in particular, and just having the opportunity to watch the WNBA this summer, watch how those ladies performed in the Olympics, even in the 3-on-3. Like, it was just amazing. And I think they've really captured the attention of a lot of people that maybe haven't paid attention to it before. And I mean, obviously that has a lot to do with Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and some of those other rookies. But at the same time, you've got the Asia Wilsons and the Brianna Stewarts and the Jackie Youngs. So there's quite a few good players out there, and people are finally taking notice.
And it's so crazy because obviously you grow up, you're a terrific high school player, you go on to star at Ohio State, you play a year in the WNBA, and it's kind of early iteration, but go back and think about 1997 when you're playing in Cleveland for that year. Can you imagine telling yourself, hey, within 20 years, the game will have grown exponentially, and there will be men walking around with women's basketball jerseys on?
The answer is no. Like, I never would have dreamed it. Back then, I got to play out in LA, and I would say, hey, this is where the Lakers play, not where the Sparks play. I got to play in New York, and it was always, that's where the Knicks played, not the Liberty. And things have changed so much. And I know, looking back, I mean, I played in a time period when Lisa Leslie was the star, and Cynthia Cooper and Cheryl Swoops and Tina Thompson, Rebecca Lobo. So, I mean, there were some phenomenal players in the league, and they didn't get noticed. And it's a shame, but at the same time, it's about time we're starting to see those ladies out there and getting that notoriety, because the basketball really hasn't changed. People are just taking notice of it now. And, I was very fortunate to have grown up in that time period. Katie Smith was my teammate at Ohio State. She has 3 gold medals, one of the best players to ever play in the Big Ten, has multiple championships in the WNBA. So, I mean, I played with one of the great ones, a Hall of Famer. And, she never got the notoriety that I thought she deserved. But, people are finally taking notice, and that's all you can ask for. You keep working hard, put your nose to the ground, and, that's what women's sports have done. And WNBA has really taken off this summer.
Well, and it's kind of a crazy thing, too, because the early days in Cleveland, that's not even counting Lynette Woodard, who was a huge pioneer who played a year with you guys and a year with Detroit, of women's basketball being such an oddity in those early days of, even Cleveland with only having 4 or 5, 6 seasons. of, all right, we're going to dip our toes into this, but we don't really know if this will kind of last. And even having teams like Miami folding, I mean, Houston wins a couple titles and they fold. It was a really unstable thing. Is there kind of a mark where you think maybe it turned around enough for the owners, predominantly older men, who go, hey, we should maybe back this a little bit and let it grow into something?
Well, I think when they started putting some teams in the league that didn't necessarily have to have that NBA affiliate, so like the Connecticut team, which we all know Connecticut's a huge women's basketball state, based on what the Huskies have done and what Gino has done with that program and the amount of national championships they've won. I think putting a team there was huge. And then obviously the Las Vegas Aces. I mean, the way they've dominated the last couple of years, and even this year, people want to go see them play. That's why places are selling out. So I think that's probably the best thing the league could have done, is just adding some teams that maybe could call them, it was just their town, instead of, oh, you're just buddies with the Lakers, or you're just buddies with the Knicks, with the Cavs, whatever NBA affiliate they had. So I think that's really helped the league quite a bit. And they put them on the air more. You've heard more about them. Like they're starting to talk. And I think that's probably something that's turned the league around. And I mean, we all know it, the addition of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese to the league. I mean, it caused that communication to go up when they first came out there and got drafted. And I mean, I'll be honest, I'd never really watched the WNBA draft till this year. I've watched them, and had them on, but like this year I watched it intently to see who went where and how the crowd reacted and how those girls reacted. And I just think it's blasting off. And I mean, it's just going to keep going up.
Well, and that's kind of fascinating to me. You look at, I mean, when you go to Ohio State, you go there from 93 to 97. When you start college, professional basketball, unless you go overseas, I know the WBL kind of, has that little mark, but unless you predominantly go overseas to playing at home, so to speak, is not really an option until kind of right around your junior, senior year of, oh, wow, this could be a thing. I mean, is that something that you were thinking about at that point?
Yeah, and I had looked a lot into going overseas prior to that. I'm not very big. I'm only about 5'4". So at that time, taking females overseas from America, they had to pay them a little bit more, and they wanted post players. So we're of Italian descent, and like I looked at changing our last name back to what it originally was when my grandparents came over from Italy, so that I could go over to Italy and play as an Italian citizen. So like I explored all kinds of different routes. And then the ABL originated, I believe, in 96, because that's where Katie Smith actually went and played. She played for the Columbus Quest for a couple of years before going into the WNBA. So I even looked at that. And then when they said the WNBA was coming out, I was like, all right, let's give it a shot. And with them having a Cleveland team, I mean, I'm from Worcester originally, so it's in my backyard. And, that's what little girls dream about, was playing professionally. Like I said, I grew up a Michael Jordan fan, so I was always watching the boys play. And the opportunity that these girls have today to be able to watch these females play and give them somebody to look up to that is like them, it's just amazing.
Are you allowed to admit that, though, growing up in the greater Northeast Ohio area, that you were a bigger Jordan fan than maybe a Cavs fan?
I'm really, really sorry. I've just never, my parents are from the Pittsburgh area originally, so we never really grew up anything Cleveland fans. And I was enamored by Michael Jordan from a very young age. And my older daughter's actually named after him. Her name's Jordan, and it was directly because of him. And it's not even how good a player he was. It was his competitive spirit and his attitude, like, you're not going to beat me. And that's how I wanted to play, was like, you're not going to beat me. I'll do whatever it takes to win, whether it's 12 assists or 35 points, whatever we got to do to win this game. And I know it's hard to say because Jordan hurt the Cavs a lot of different times, but I was a diehard Jordan fan growing up.
Talking to Marcie Alberts, the head coach at Wapak, and it's funny, too, because my wife is from the Cleveland area, just outside in the suburbs, and every year, her being a Kentucky fan, she's haunted by the Leitner thing that they show, I got to imagine that Craig Elo just turns off social media like any time that Cleveland plays the Bulls because he's probably real tired of seeing that shot.
Oh, 100%. I don't get tired of watching it. It's one of the greatest shots in history. Same thing with like the Leitner shot. But yeah, if I'm Craig Elo, I'm definitely not a fan of when they play each other because I don't want to watch Jordan hit that in my face over and over again. It's already in my nightmares. That's what sports are all about.
He said, I just don't need any more of that. One thing that always fascinated me, because I remember when you got the job at Wapak, I probably read a lot of your bio because I'm that kind of nerd that likes to kind of prepare on different things. But the one thing that I was always impressed with, I wanted to ask you, you shot 91% for a year from the free throw line. What was that for you? I mean, did you go in and go, all right, I'm going to take 200 free throws. I'm not leaving until I hit 90%, or was it just was a perfect rhythm?
I do think I had a good rhythm. I had a routine that I stuck with from a very early age, really didn't deter from it too much. But I'll be honest with you, my dad, growing up, I have two brothers, so I always wanted to be better than them. So if they made more free throws than me, then I sure as heck was going to stay out there and try and make more than them. But, he always taught us that if you're going to shoot 10 times in a game, then you better practice it 500 times outside of it. And, I really firmly believe that. And if I was only going to get a couple free throws a game, then I was going to shoot 100, 200 free throws a day. And on nights when I didn't shoot so hot, I would go home and shoot them in my driveway. And, maybe people might say, oh, that's crazy, that's over the top, but that's what I wanted. Like I wanted to be the absolute best I could be in that particular moment. And if that meant putting in a little extra time at 10 o'clock at night on the driveway with a spotlight shining on the hoop, then that's what I would do. And, that's all from what my dad taught us and instilled in us and trying to go out. You don't have to be perfect, just be the best that you can possibly be. And that's all you can ask for.
I assume the janitors probably ran you out of St. John's Arena a couple times.
Yeah, I feel like I lived in that place. I'll go down. My daughter goes to school there, and I'll visit. And St. John's is way different than when I played there. But it's so cool to go back because, yes, there were lots of nights I closed it up. Might have even been a few nights where they didn't know I was in there. So what they don't know doesn't hurt them. And
we won't tell them. It's fine. I just wanted to
put up some shots.
Well, and it's funny because you hit 200 threes in your time there. When you walk out, when you go to St. John's now, do you just kind of, even without thinking about it, just kind of walk to a spot and go, yep, this was my spot right here?
Oh, yeah. I love the shots from the wing. That was my spot. Everybody talks about the top of the key, which I do love that. But I was a wing shooter, and I like to shoot them from deep. So it was St. John's just brings back so many memories. And the fact that it's still standing is pretty unbelievable. And I love going back there and being able to walk around and look at the pictures and be able to say, yeah, this was the best 4 years of my life. And, I talk about it with my children. And I mean, that's what it's all about, just being able to share that and those experiences. And, high school was a wonderful time, but having the opportunity to play at The Ohio State University was one I'll never, ever forget.
Well, and again, it leads to the early iteration of the WNBA. You spend a year in Cleveland, and then kind of, again, the unstableness of the way the early WNBA is. Was there a point where you kind of forced, or you just kind of decided, all right, maybe playing isn't going how I envision. We transition into coaching now.
Yeah. And coaching was always what, was the plan, before playing became that option even. And I think, playing with the Rockers, unbelievable experience. I got to go and see things that I never would have gotten to do at any other point in time. I did have the chance to meet the Bulls team, the Last Dance team, and that was amazing. We were there as a Rockers team, and we got to meet every single one of those players. And like, for me, that's like being starstruck. I'm 24 years old, and I'm getting to meet Michael Jordan and Dennis Rodman and Scottie Pippen. It was just absolutely unbelievable. And I wouldn't have had that opportunity if it weren't for playing. And then the year with the Rockers, had its ups and downs, just like anybody that that goes through that. And I think I had just gotten married. So I think it was one of those, do you want to start a family? Do you want to start your career? Like, what is it that we're looking to do here? And some things fell through overseas. So then it was kind of like, all right, let's get into coaching. And I went to Orville, which was our huge rivalry at Worcester. I took a lot of heat from people at Worcester, but that was probably one of the best decisions I made because I got to meet a lot of people, coach some great kids, and really got to start the coaching part off the right way.
It's so funny because I didn't even think about that. I was just looking at it and I was reading and it slipped my mind about them being rivals. I mean, I would think though, your girls won enough that I think 117-45 is pretty good. I think most people would have kind of been like, yeah, she's that lady, but it's okay because she's ours now.
Yeah, no, in Orville took me in. Like, they loved it. I never lost to them when I played at Worcester. I don't want to say I owned them, but that's kind of how we felt as a team at Worcester. I didn't lose very many games in high school. And when I went to Orville, they welcomed me with open arms. It was the people from Worcester that had a hard time with it. But, I had applied for some jobs there too and didn't get them. And I was like, well, this gets me closer to my parents. They still live in Worcester. Gets me closer to my brothers. They're both in Wayne County still. So I was like, Orville's the next best place. And like I said, it was an awesome experience. And I still talk to a lot of those people today. I'm in contact with those players that I coached. And I mean, in the end, that's what it's about for me with coaching is how many people can you impact in a positive way. And I was able to do that there.
Talking to Marcie Alberts, the head coach at Wapak. And, again, you've gotten to do a little bit of everything. I mean, things little girls dream of with basketball, of playing professional basketball, playing high-level college basketball, getting to coach high-level college basketball. What is it about Wapak, though, that was kind of the perfect thing of getting to mold youth basketball players for you?
When I came here for the interview process, I think what struck me first was just the people in the town, the people I got to meet right away, and their enthusiasm and passion about the students here, the athletes here, the traditions that are held in the Wapak walls. And I think that's kind of what drew me. I had other job offers that year in bigger areas. And this was the one that I thought was the best fit for me and for my family. And so thankful that I took it. Again, just a wonderful place to raise my, I have a 16-year-old as well. So to finish her up and let her get through her high school career and, a place that I can call home. And the people here are wonderful. The kids that I get to coach on a daily basis, they have bought in to everything that I've asked for. I preach getting 1% better every day. It doesn't matter what it is you get better at, just try and get better at something every day. And they've really bought into that. And, we were able to have a fairly successful year last year and just hoping to continue to build on that this year.
I would think, too, living in Fort Wayne, being from out in Northeast Ohio, it's kind of a little bit closer, kind of split the difference. That had to be a big thing in it, too.
Oh, yeah. I'm Fort Wayne was about 3 hours from my family. Now we're about 2 hours. Being in Ohio, I grew up in Ohio. I was raised in Ohio. So getting back to Ohio was big for me. And, it gives my dad's retired from coaching, but he coached for 40 plus years. And, for him to be able to have the opportunity to come watch me coach and watch my daughter play, that's huge. And I'm a big family person, and to have them still be around and the support that they give I couldn't ask for anything more. It's been that way my whole life. And, super thankful for what my parents have been able to do for me.
Now, I've heard that coaches never actually retire. They just sort of move to a different bench. I would believe he probably still gives you coaching advice from time to time.
Yeah, we call it lectures. So my older brother's a coach as well. He coaches at Northwestern over in West Salem, Ohio. And if we feel like getting lectured, then we'll call dad. If we don't feel like getting lectured, we'll call mom. So it's one of those things that, do we want to be told what we're doing right or wrong coaching wise? And usually it's wrong. Then we probably won't call him. But I mean, he's the one that helped mold me in what I am today, both as a player and a coach. So we joke with him all the time about that, but I'll take whatever advice he can give because, he's earned it. He's made it to the state tournament. That's what I want to do. And he knows what it takes. So at 77 years old, he could still get out there and outcoach most people. And that's what I love about it, is being able to share that with him.
I was asking you about the WNBA. I'll ask you about the current league right now. Asia Wilson becomes the first player to score 1,000 points in a season. Caitlin Clark has 35 the other night. She's shattering every rookie record, breaks the single-season assist record. When you look at the way the league is going into the playoffs with a couple of games left in the regular season, is there a team that, if you were to put your money on, that would probably be the team that you think will emerge as the winner?
I'm going to start off by saying I want the Fever to win it. I don't know that they can do it yet this year, but that would be awesome. I don't know how you bet against the Aces, only for the simple fact they've won 2 in a row. They do have 4 Olympians in their starting lineup. I mean, Asia Wilson is by far the best player in the league, the hardest to guard. She can get a double-double anytime she wants it. And I just don't know how you bet against them. With that being said, the Lynx, even though they might not have all the star power that some of the other teams have played very well as a team. And I think the Liberty, Brianna Stewart can play. Sabrina Nescu can shoot lights out. They could get hot. So I do think there's several teams that could compete for it. And even the Connecticut Sun, I mean, they were super hot early. They've gone down a little bit here, but they're still a good team. And, I think this is the first time we've really seen it where the parity is there a little bit more in the WNBA. You talk about super teams, but I don't know if it's so much that this year as it's been in the past. So I think that's what's going to make it fun for the playoffs. But those of you out there that think the Aces are out of it, don't count them out. Asia Wilson doesn't know how to do anything but win. So it should be a lot of fun to watch, though.
They're 8-2 in their last 10. So basically everybody but Seattle, Phoenix, and either Washington or Chicago is what I heard.
Yeah, and you know what? Seattle's good, but I just don't know that they have it. And I think Phoenix, I don't want to be mean to any teams. I think they're a little overrated. And whatever team gets in the 8th spot, it doesn't really matter. They're not going to do it. I think the Fever, I love Caitlin Clark and I love Kelsey Mitchell together and Aaliyah Boston. Those are 3 really good players and they have a good mix around them. Don't let them get hot. If you let them get hot, anything can happen. So that's the cool thing I think about the WNBA right now is you can name a number of teams. But like I said, if I was to pick and you made me pick one, it would be the Aces to win it again.
That's a good choice because that's my pick too. Might just be, again, my love of Las Vegas. But I can't say thank you enough. I've appreciated this, and I've enjoyed being able to talk women's and girls basketball with you.
I really appreciate you having me on. And, anytime I can help promote the game or have an impact on some young girls out there that are wanting to play or just get involved with it, I'm more than happy to do so. So thank you very much.
That's Wapak's head coach in Marcie Alberts. We've got some more when we come back.
Here I go. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of Around the Hearn. Come back next week for more local stories from the NWO. But until then, be sure to follow us on Twitter @MichaelHearnPBP for more great area content.